Hi, this is Mark again, Our Museum of Us, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples of books that have had a powerful effect in my life. Like I suggested earlier, it doesn't have to be that it had a powerful thing in your life like the examples I'm going to show. It could be just I like the book, I like the author, I like the style, I like the story, and that's okay too. The point is that you're curating the book, going from the physical object of the book to telling this digital story. So whether this thing exists in my library through my life and my children have to say, oh, that's great, now what do we do with Dad's books? I've done it. I've already dealt with Dad's books, and here's the way that you might consider it, period. So I was born and raised in Texas, loved it, big state, really enjoyed it all the time. I don't know where I got it in my head that someday I wanted to go up to Alaska or Canada and build a cabin and have a little puppy. I remember that was a recurring thought that I had going through college, and wasn't so much out of frustration. It was just, I thought that would be pretty cool. Well, I don't have the dog, I did, but I do have a cabin up in Alaska. I spent 35 years up in Alaska after I left the Peace Corps. Long story short, I had a chance to go work on a archaeological dig with National Geographic up in Alaska. But I will tell you, the book that did it was when I was in the Peace Corps. I went on a vacation to the Philippines, and I stayed with some Peace Corps volunteers in the Philippines, and they subscribed to the New Yorker magazine. Well, one of the writers in there is John McPhee, who was writing a series back then, this is in the late 70s, about Alaska. It's called Coming Into the Country. The name of the book is Coming Into the Country. In fact, let me just show it. Coming Into the Country, John McPhee. But back then, I didn't have the book. I just had these New Yorker magazines in the Philippines, and I read those, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's heaven. I want to go there. I want to come into the country. And it was his writing, which was, he's one of my favorite authors of all time. He's done about 27 or 28 books. He's won the Pulitzer. He's a really, really good writer. His style and etc. It's all nonfiction. And just the lure of the place that could be that wild with such interesting characters and interesting people and the challenges they faced and the lifestyles they had. I just knew way back in the late 70s in the Philippines that Alaska was for me. So long story short, it was just 2 years later, I ended up working up in the Arctic Wildlife Refuge, and I never looked back. I've spent 35 years up there and still enjoyed the state by quite a bit. So the book itself is written in, I think, 3 parts altogether, and I won't go into detail about the book. I just want to offer that for me, this book was the thing that was sort of like a catalyst to go from, oh, I want to do something like go to Alaska and live and build a cabin and have a dog and all that, to the reality of it. So I read this book it was in January of 1977, not the book, but the articles. And then 14 years later, I was actually the assistant superintendent in the school district that he writes about. The little town is called Eagle. And so imagine the joy, the profound, what do you call it, of going from reading about it to actually living it up there. So this book was a catalyst. It's almost hard to find the words for it, but it was the book that said, confirmed and cemented in my mind that Alaska would be a cool place to do it. Did it. Had a wonderful family, raised family, and did all kinds of adventures up there. And I still cherish my relationship with Alaska, and I cherish my relationship with this book. So you can see that for me, the mind thing is about, I just don't see how I could ever get rid of this book. And that's what books are like. That's what it's for. So an example of what a book did for me, and I want to tell you about a couple of other books, not this lengthy, but I want to give these as examples of how you can curate your books in your My Museum of Me, so that this recording is what you leave behind. I might leave this one behind too. I don't know. I like this one. Anyway, good luck.